we're hearing this ironic narrative from the president's critics and the left-wing media that Elon Musk is an unelected bureaucrat and he's doing all this terrible stuff. Isn't one of Doge's objectives to get rid of the federal bureaucracy, the deep state? And also, who was running the White House when Joe Biden was in office? Because I don't know a single person who believes it was Joe Biden.
You're tempting me to say some very harsh things about some of our media friends. Yes, it is true that many of the people in this room for 4 years failed to cover the fact that Joe Biden was mentally incompetent and was not running the country. It is also true that many people in this room who have used this talking point that Elon is not elected fail to understand how government works. So I'm glad for the opportunity for a brief civics lesson. A president is elected by the whole American people. He's the only official in the entire government that is elected by the entire nation, right? Judges are appointed, members of Congress are elected at the district or state level, just one man. And the Constitution, Article 2, has a clause known as the vesting clause, and it says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular. The whole will of democracy is imbued into the elected president. That president then appoints staff to then impose that democratic will onto the government. The threat to democracy, indeed the existential threat to democracy, is the unelected bureaucracy of lifetime tenured civil servants who believe they answer to no one, who believe they can do whatever they want without consequence, who believe they can set their own agenda no matter what Americans vote for. So Americans vote for radical FBI reform, and FBI agents say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote for radical reform on our energy policies, but EPA bureaucrats say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote to end DEI, racist DEI policies, and lawyers at the Department of Justice say they don't want to change. What President Trump is doing is he is removing federal bureaucrats who are defying democracy by failing to implement his lawful orders, which are the will of the whole American people. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Well put. That is exactly what I'm talking about. That is exactly what I'm talking about. That is exactly, I'm gonna put that on the beginning of my video because that is exactly what everybody in this entire country needs to hear. Both Republican, Democrat, middle, independents, everyone. Trump official goes viral for civics lesson to reporters about Elon Musk. I am so glad that they asked that question, and I'm so glad he was the one to answer this question because this sheds the light on exactly what President Trump is doing. And all the pushback that's going against him on figuring out why they're pushing back just got debunked from this clip right here. Everybody needs to sit down and go for the ride on this because this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the way the government's supposed to be ran. Not by the unelected bureaucrats. We the people didn't choose these people that can fork over money without letting the American people know. And then coming to find out, we're trying to find out where the paper trail goes. Okay, who's responsible for this? Why is it that all the Democrats are freaking out? Why are they freaking out? Maybe because they're doing something they weren't supposed to. They've been, pocketing some of this money or sending it to other places or people maybe around the world that shouldn't have gone to.
Taking a question now.
Encouragement from the media to deport as many illegal aliens as humanly possible. So thank you, and I will promise you that the full might of the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, and every element and instrument of national power will be used to remove, with speed, all criminal illegals from the soil of the United States of America, to enforce final removal orders, and to ensure that this country is for American citizens and those who legally belong in this country. We inherited an ICE that was completely shuttered. We inherited a Department of Homeland Security whose sole mission was to resettle illegal aliens within the United States of America. In 30 days, the president sealed the border shut, declared the cartels to be terrorist organizations, has increased ICE deportations to levels not seen in decades, and we are shortly on the verge of achieving a pace and speed of deportations this country has never before seen. Thank you.
Did you guys hear what he just said? Now, illegal immigrants that are in this country are being taken out of this country. Now, I've already seen some stories out there where there's people with green cards that are getting detained by ICE. ICE is checking everybody that has some sort of identification where it's not legal residency here. And not only are they checking these things on people, they're quadruple checking their backgrounds to make sure that they don't have a criminal record. Now, if a criminal record pops up, even if you have a green card or if you have any other form of ID that's not permanent resident, they're gonna flag you for deportation, possibly. I know on one of them was a military veteran who got flagged having a green card, and he had I think a felony after he served time in the military, I believe. And I don't think he ended up getting deported. I couldn't find any news past the initial detainment of him. But I mean, don't commit crimes. Period. Whether you're illegal or legal in this country, you should not be committing crimes. Now, if you're illegal in this country and you have committed crimes, that should flag you for deportation. That's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. A lot of people may disagree with that. A lot of people want to say, we're the United States of America. We're the home of allowing, immigrants to come into this country. Yes, I agree with that. Immigrants should come to this country, but legally, through the front door. Not busting through the window or breaking through doors or climbing over walls or digging underground or in tunnels and going through, building a piece of crap boat to go through the water where the Coast Guard is going to find you, which they have quite a few times. Do it the right way. That's all we're saying is do it the right way. You don't see other people going in. I don't want to speak too much of this because I've said it too many times in my other videos, but you guys get the point.
For either one of you. So we reported, several other outlets have reported that about 3,500 people are due to be lose their jobs at the IRS by the end of the week. If the goal of these spending cuts across the federal government has been to reduce the debt, why impose some of the deepest cuts we've seen so far at the agency responsible for raising revenue for the federal government?
Well, I think our objective is to make sure that the employees that we pay are being productive and effective. And there are many, more than 100,000 people working to collect taxes, and not all of them are fully occupied. And the Treasury Secretary is studying the matter and feels like 3,500 is a small number. And probably can get bigger, especially as we improve the IT at the IRS. And so I think that it's absolutely something that is on the table for good reasons. And the point is that don't just talk about the IRS, talk about all of government. That there are so many places. I live in DC. You maybe live in DC where nobody's going to the buildings. People aren't commuting because nobody's doing their job. We look back and we see that there are all these people doing two jobs while they're getting a government payroll on the payroll. So the point is we're fixing that, and the IRS is a small part of that picture.
So you're saying that everybody.
So, in my opinion, the IRS should be completely eliminated. We need to get rid of them. A lot of these people are all concerned. Oh my God, all these people are getting fired. The whole building should get fired. Especially they just said a lot of people aren't even coming into work, and they're over here having other jobs and fulfilling the federal paycheck when they're not even fulfilling this job that they got hired for initially. So yeah, they got to get let go.
Who's being let go was doing a bad job?
I'm saying that we're studying every agency and deciding who to let go and why. And we're doing so very rationally with a lot of support from analysis.
Because we're being told by a lot of people who have been let go at other agencies that they were told they were being dismissed because of poor performance, when in some cases they haven't even had a performance review yet because they've only been on the job a couple of months.
Yeah, I've never seen a person who was laid off for poor performance say that they were performing poorly. Okay.
Carolyn? Good point. Sure, Caitlin.
I have a question. I'll start with you, Kevin Hassett. Thank you for being here. And then I've got a question for Mr. Waltz. On these potential checks that you might send out from Doge, is there a concern as you're thinking through this that they could be inflationary?
Oh, absolutely not, because imagine if we don't spend government money and we give it back to people, then if they spend it all, then you're even. But they're probably going to save a lot of it, in which case you're reducing inflation.
Okay, so
and also, when the government spends a lot, that's what creates inflation. We learned that from Joe Biden. And so if we reduce government spending, then that's, reduces inflation. And if you give people money, then they're going to save a bunch of it. And when they save it, then that also reduces demand and reduces inflation.
Okay, so you're not worried about it. And
No, I'm
Mr.
not.
Waltz, to follow up on Peter's question.
Okay. If we happen to get these checks from Doge, they're saying $5,000 to the American people. I don't know if that's going to be the exact amount or if it's just varies or up to 5,000, but everybody should be paying off their debt, saving their money. I know during COVID times, people were using it to pay their rent, pay their mortgages, just help out with things, especially because their work either laid them off or they had to start working from home and they had to take a pay cut. This go around, especially with so many cuts happening in the government, people should be paying off their debt. Doge is created to help fix the debt issue within the country. Everybody should be fixing their own personal debt along the way.
Question. You wrote in an op-ed in the fall of 2023 that, quote, Putin is to blame, certainly like Al-Qaeda was to blame for 9/11. Do you still feel that way now, or do you share the president's assessment as he says Ukraine is to blame for the start of this war?
Well, it shouldn't surprise you that I share the president's assessment on all kinds of issues. What I wrote as a member of Congress was as a former member of Congress. Look, what I share the president's assessment on is that the war has to end. And what comes with that? What comes with that should be, at some point, elections. What comes with that should be peace. What comes with that is prosperity that we've just offered in this natural resources and economic partnership arrangement, an end to the killing, and European security and security for the world. The president's not only determined to do that in Europe, he's determined to do it in the Middle East. And just a few months ago, we had an administration that had tried for 15 months. Week after week, sitting with you here and couldn't get us to a ceasefire, couldn't get our hostages out. Now we're at that point. We're back to maximum pressure on Iran, and we have just begun, and we will drive towards a ceasefire and all of those other steps. I'm not going to pre-negotiate or get ahead of the sequencing of all of that. It's a very delicate situation, but this is a president of peace, and who here would argue against peace?
Okay, so you do share that assessment.
Okay, so it's obvious that Russia invaded Ukraine, point blank. They started the war. Initially starting in 2014, but the invasion started by Russia. Now, it was very clear. I know that Trump and Zelensky were talking a few weeks ago about making a deal to end the war. We would have a deal where the U.S. would acquire some resources that Ukraine has on their land. And Zelensky already said that, no, that's not something that we will agree to. And it's resources that would help benefit this country and the American people. Nobody in the world wants to step up to make peace with these countries that are going to war for the dumbest reason, in my opinion. And Trump made an ultimatum. Hey, we'll help you end the war, but this is the deal. You give us some of your resources. Ukraine said no. Zelensky said no. So now I believe this is why Trump is saying, you know what? Ukraine started the war. It's pushing Zelensky's buttons now, making it seem like, oh, Ukraine is the one that actually started the war. This is probably pissing off Zelensky because he knows it's not true. The world knows it's not true. But Trump just saying that is to push his buttons because he didn't want to agree to a deal that could help end the war. Zelensky doesn't have much say to making negotiations. So his people can continue dying. if that's how he wants it, and that's what his people need to understand too. And I hope they do see that in their leadership, Zelensky, that he's still trying to make negotiations when there's no room for it at this point. There's no room for it. They're just waiting for Russia to take over the entire country. And, you know, that's why Trump's making the deal with Putin and Putin's agreeing with his deal. That's my opinion on why I believe Trump said that, on why he believes that Ukraine is the one that started the war, why he's just flipping the script all of a sudden. That's my opinion.
And can I follow up? In 2017, then President Trump. Can I just follow up
Thank
really
you.
quick?
So,
You just have two questions.
I cannot stand Caitlin Collins, and she's huge on CNN, which is getting destroyed. She likes to be so rude and disrespectful, not just in the press briefing room, but in the Oval Office. Everywhere she is on live TV, she's a huge embarrassment to CNN and journalists all over the place. She's just a mess. She's not respectful at all. She likes to just blurt out whenever she feels like it, like she owns the room. And she's been put in her place many times by Trump. I mean, she's about to be put in her place right now by press secretary. Like, you don't get to talk. You don't get to ask a zillion questions. There's other people in the room that want to ask questions. You don't get to ask 500 follow-up questions to your initial question. That's not fair for other people. Other people want to know, have other questions regarding other things that the American people want to know, not just everything you want to know. And some of the questions she asks are really dumb. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Till next time. Peace out, guys.